Coming up on today's show, we talk about the latest Disney news and rumors, and we also talk a little bit about our favorite things currently at Walt Disney World. This is Traveling with a Mouse. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 411 of Traveling with the Mouse. This is the 411 episode. My name is Adam, and I am joined today by John.
Do not pull down on the safety bar, please. I will lower it for you.
That movie's coming out soon, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Maybe we should talk about movies today a little bit.
Maybe.
We'll get into that, but let's talk news maybe.
Ooh.
We haven't talked, we've been doing so many trip reports lately that we haven't talked some news lately.
We haven't.
Let's start with that.
We don't, is there any news really going on?
Well, and Bob Iger put his foot in his mouth today, recently, I should say, talking about the writers' strike and the actors' strike and all that.
So how exactly did he put his foot in his mouth? I saw that he made some kind of comments on it.
Have you heard about this?
So in what way, is this a matter of opinion that he put his foot in your mouth?
Yes, because most of the folks, I guess the public opinion is that, he's at this billionaire retreat as he made these comments about actors and writers being unrealistic. I think that was the thing. They're unrealistic and wanting a living wage.
Well, that's just it. What exactly do they want?
A living wage. Yeah.
What does that mean? That's what I mean.
More money.
Well, I get more money. That's what anybody this stuff was. But when you say a living wage, what does that mean?
Yeah, enough to live in California. And California is expensive.
Well, there's a problem.
But what I do kind of understand about where Iger's coming from, he's painting it as, we're coming out of COVID and the streaming stuff isn't super profitable and the dynamic is changing and we're trying to figure all that out, and you guys are at the same time. The way he phrased it, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, was they couldn't have picked a worse time to strike because they're trying to figure out how to even make a profit because, the ticket sales are down from pre-COVID levels, even for big movies, although I think it's rebounding pretty well. But he's saying, we're not out of that yet.
It's not going to continue if there's a writer's strike. That's the thing. Writer's strike, I get... I don't know. I haven't really looked at what it is they truly like. When you said what they want is a living wage, like what is it? I meant specifics. What is it that they're looking for?
I don't know. I'm not a writer.
I don't know if they get paid.
Right, I don't either.
But I would imagine it's better than some professions. Now, is it as much as, say, Bob Iger? Obviously not.
Well, yeah.
But
he gets an insane amount of money, but yeah.
But again, they're not, I get what he means by the timing because they're not helping their own profession. What are they going to do? Let's just say they get some or what of what they're wanting, if their profession is no longer viable by the time it's all said and done, they're really, they're even worse off than they were before. It did not do well, roughly. How long has it been now since that writer's strike? What was it in?
May. It was sometime in May.
But it was...
You're talking about the...
I'm talking about back in 2008
like
8 or 9.
Yeah. Somewhere in there, yeah.
So we're talking 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out very well. Not for the industry overall, because a lot of things suffered from the writer's strike, I should say. Like, it brought series that probably would have otherwise been successful to a halt, right? There's a lot of series that never made it out right there. As far as world problems go, that's insignificant.
Yeah.
But
I think they got a decent deal out of it, though. It lasted this long before they felt like they needed an adjustment. But
Maybe. I can understand what he's talking about being a bit unrealistic, though. But again, I don't. When I say I understand, I can talk about it being not realistic. I don't know specifically what their demands are to determine whether they're unrealistic or not.
Yeah. It's funny that you'll defend Iger on this stuff, but on the
No, I'm not
hard stuff.
talking about defending him. I mean, I just do what I do. I call it like the way I see it. I say I understand
Sure.
where he's coming from. Like when I say that in the like, I kind of get what he means, because unrealistic, meaning like all the moving parts. We don't know all the moving parts involved in making something
Yeah.
like this happen, right? So
We don't know enough about either side of the issue
Right.
to really make a.
we don't know enough
know,
about it. But I mean, just from what
valid.
I've seen about what people get paid and stuff like that, there's a lot of people nowadays that what they expect to get for what they do is pretty unrealistic. That's all I'm saying.
But I mean, I think he came across as tone deaf, which I don't think anything he could say would not come across that way, because he's a billionaire. Well, is he a billionaire? I don't know. He gets paid a ton of
He
money.
could be at this point.
Yeah. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he might be. He's pretty close if he's not. And anybody who, gets a $50 million bonus every year and, is not going to come across as being one of the people here who are fighting for a little bit
Yeah.
more pay. So,
I mean, let's be honest. In a perfect world, people that were in positions like CEOs would come off of their salary a little bit and spread it out some to help make this more manageable. But
Yeah.
that's not realistic either. So
Yeah. I mean, if he gave his bonus out to every Disney employee, every employee could
They, like,
probably
divided
get like
it.
$1,000 or something. I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
it's probably quite a bit. But
my
still.
point is, people in his position, they get paid what they do for a reason. Is
Yeah.
the gap wider than it should be? Sure, it's wider than it should be in a lot of professions.
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, if you narrow the gap too much, then what you end up is people not wanting to do their jobs as often. So
yeah,
if
there's
you
a
narrow it
balance
too
you got to
much-
strike. I'm sure.
Right, there's a balance.
There's a
Yeah.
balance. But anyway, also though, on the Bob Iger front, his contract got extended 2 more years. That was another big story that just broke recently.
Yeah. Boy,
Anybody surprised by that?
I was going to say, so how do you say we have no idea who the CEO is going to be without saying we have no idea who the CEO is going to be?
Right.
Like, how do
He
you
just
say
won't quit, even though why did he quit in pandemic? I guess maybe you are right. He was just afraid of tarnishing his legacy with COVID. But now he's got to rebuild. I don't know.
Look, it's like I said before. I know there have been other situations, not on this level, not that had this many eyes on it, in which companies pick a fall guy. And I think
Yeah.
that's what they did with Bob Chapek. I think they picked a fall guy because they already knew he wasn't popular. And then they picked him, and, they let him do what he wanted to do, but they picked, and he actually attempted in his own way and
Yeah.
did for a little while,
Well, he
have it
made the
make
company
money.
profitable, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. But
That's what I'm saying. But I think, like I said, when they saw what was coming, they picked a fall guy. And then when it all came down to it, they were like, see ya.
could be.
Again, no one's ever just going to come out and admit something like that. That's just,
Right.
again,
I mean, they
all the
can't say that.
pieces, to me seem to point in that direction. But
Right. Can't say that.
because the stuff he put in place, we've said it once again, and I think this is the reason why when they announced Iger's, extension, I took a look at the stock, right? It barely moved the needle. I mean, it didn't do a thing, not near as much as the jump whenever Chapek was ousted, right?
Yeah.
Like, this barely moved the needle because the investors are wanting to see something a little more tangible, because since Iger's been there since, what was it, January? So over the last 6-7 months?
Yeah, November, December is when he...
November, December. Okay, so it's coming up on a
late
year.
November, early December.
Yeah, that's what it was. November, December.
But
So
close
it's
enough, yeah.
so in the next we're 8 months, we'll say.
Right.
into this, and the only thing significant we've really seen change is we don't charge for parking anymore. I mean,
Well, there's a few other things, but sure.
well, what is it?
The dining plan's coming back. They're getting rid of the
Right, that's next year. Yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying. I mean, there are things that are in motion. I mean, the dining plan, the no more park reservations.
So once again, one of the things people
like
complained about was what they were getting stuck with.
Discounts came back.
Well, that came back, yes.
For
but
hotels.
People complained about the stuff they were getting stuck with upcharge-wise.
Yeah.
Nothing has been done for that except still increase that price.
Yeah.
Like I said, the stuff they've given up or they're starting to give back is still stuff that they're going to make money on. The dining plan, they're going to make more money than they did the last time because, heck, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's no longer a deal. They don't even try to advertise it as one. It's probably going to pay. You're probably going to pay more to do the dining plan instead of it being a deal when it's all said and done. So
most likely,
I don't know. However, you made a comment on the trip you went to San Diego here recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
You made a comment about food at some place. Can't remember what it was.
Food.
But you made the comment about how Disney's food prices, which I kind of agree, just because they had already
San Diego Zoo.
Right. Yeah, but they were already above most things to start with. They just didn't raise, pretty much, is what they did. That much, at least, anyway.
Since you brought that up, I should mention that, I guess, to talk about the comparison. I couldn't help but compare to Animal Kingdom and San Diego Zoo, which San Diego Zoo was great. I mean, it was wonderful as far as a zoo goes. Everybody should go there if you have the opportunity. If you're there, definitely do it. But price-wise, I mean, yes, it was only, I think it was like $70 or so a ticket to get in. But once you did, like, it was $6 for a bottle of water. I think it was $6.25.
Yeah,
for a bottle of water and popcorn. I forgot how much popcorn was, but I just couldn't help but notice all the prices. Like a beer was $16.
$16.
$16.
How many
and if
ounces?
It was 16 or 20. I forgot how big that cup is. I have the cup that I got because I bought the refillable cup because it was only $13 to get a refill, which is like still more than Disney for any beer. So it was just like, wow, it was crazy.
It's amazing the stuff that the prices, everything is really now.
Yeah. I was stunned at how expensive it was. The quick service food was not terrible. It was about the same price for food, but yeah, it was crazy. The other thing I did want to mention though about the zoo was they had like I wouldn't call it a safari tour, but it was like a bus tour around the zoo where you could see some of the animals from this like double-decker bus kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the safari experience, but it was similar in that you drove basically around the whole perimeter of the park and got to see certain animal exhibits, I guess you'd say. And it took like 10 minutes before we even saw the first animal. So It was just like, well, this is where some would be, but don't see it. We'll keep going. And here's where, everything was like, nothing was out.
Yeah.
Whereas at least with the safari, you'll see a lot of animals compared to this one. I mean, Disney designed it in a way to where even if one animal is not there, there's others like in the same area that are going to be out where you
for
can
the
see.
most part. I mean, I've seen some pretty skimpy safaris.
Sure.
But there's certain ones that you're almost always going to see because of the way it's designed.
Right. It's designed better, I guess.
It's like you're never going to get through a safari without seeing a giraffe.
Right.
You're never going to get through it without seeing steer, like those longhorns or what else. There's a lot of them you're not gonna be able to miss. Let's put it that way.
But even like, lions
wildebeest.
who sleep all day, you still see them most of the time. And with this one, we did see elephants pretty well on this one. But anyway, I just thought I would bring that up. I couldn't help but compare.
Well, I was just thinking, since we just mentioned about food and prices, there's some cruise line dining that's been raised. Did you see that?
Really? The price is raised?
Yes.
What is
for
that?
the like the adult dinners? So brunch or dinner at Paolo has gone up from $45 a person to $50 a person. So it's $5.
$5.
Yeah. Remy is now $80 per person, which is up $5 as well. That's for the brunch, excuse me, and $135 per person for the dinner, is up $10.
That's comparable with a lot of the signature stuff now at Disney World, I should say.
What is it? Enchanté has also gone up about the same amount, which is the one that's on the Wish.
Isn't like Cinderella's Royal Table and Be Our Guest like $65 for an adult for like breakfast or lunch?
It could be. I haven't looked in a minute.
I believe it is. I think it's $65 for
Cinderella's Royal Table. Is it still?
That's for breakfast, I'm talking.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is it still like you have to pay up front, I wonder?
I think so.
It must be.
Last time I looked, it was like trying to get me to pay.
Yeah, tries to get you to pay in advance, right?
Yeah, I think Akershus is that way too. Isn't it that way?
Is Akershus that way? It wasn't when I did it last, but of course that was
really?
a little while back.
I feel like I almost booked that once and it was trying to get me to pay, but I could be wrong.
The only one I've seen that for was Cinderella's Royal Table, which was a really good meal. We had it for a lunch.
That's one I still haven't done, mainly because I don't have daughters, but I could still do it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I could see, after having been there for the first time in forever, I think the last time that I had eaten there prior to being at Cinderella's Royal Table in 2019, was it when we ate there? Yeah, it was 19 when we ate there, I think. Pretty sure because it was still in the Fast Pass era.
Right. Had to have been.
I think the time prior to that, it was way back when it was still called King Stefan's Banquet Hall. Whenever I ate there.
So, wow.
But having gone in 19, though, I remember looking around, I was like, I see part of the problem as to why it's hard to get is like,
small,
there's
right?
very little. Yes, very small.
Yeah.
If you think Le Cellier is small, Cinderella's Royal Table is small. You can literally see the whole dining room from wherever you are.
That's one reason why it's so hard to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only like 20 tables in there or something.
Yeah,
it's not big.
Pretty small. As a matter of fact, you can tell that was built a long time ago just because like the stairs you had, the spiraling staircase you have to go up to get up to it is like very like, it's almost like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It's pretty narrow.
It was like,
so
that time
people of a certain size would have an issue getting up there. Let's put it that way.
Gosh, what was the longhouse I stayed in at the Polynesian, and the elevator felt like I was in a broom closet. What was the longhouse that it was one of the original ones
that you stayed in? Did you stay in Fiji?
Tokelau, whatever it was.
Tokelau is one of the bigger ones because that was the one that used to be a Wahoo.
It was facing the water, but I thought it was an original one.
I don't know.
I can't think. Anyway,
Fiji. I thought you were in
Fiji. Maybe it's Fiji. Maybe that's the one. I can't remember. Anyway, the elevator in that building was so small. I could barely get in it. It was
it's
really
just
tiny.
just like the one that you have to get in the lobby. I mean, it's pretty small.
Yeah, that's true. That one,
it's from the 70s as well. I mean, they couldn't have changed it, right?
I hate when I go to the Poly with a stroller. I hate it because
it's a tight fit.
It's not. Yeah, not a big elevator.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was one more Bob Iger story. I know we went all over the map there.
Mean, it kind of went one thing led to another.
Yes, that's kind of how we do. That's kind of how we do. But he was interviewed recently on that CNBC show, and a couple of things he mentioned about the parks.
Yeah, I thought that's where all this came from. Is it?
Well,
is it
maybe.
not?
Yeah, I think it did actually.
Yeah,
this interview he recently had. But one of the things he said about the parks is he said there are opportunities to turbocharge the parks business and he noted that investments that the company made in the parks business are really paying off. But he also says he has huge optimism in the parks, echoing sentiments that he shared before about being bullish. That was one of the first things he said about being bullish about the theme parks, whatever that really means.
Sounds like it means being aggressive.
Yeah, you would think, but I haven't. You don't really see signs of it because all that's left right now is blue sky, and we have nothing concrete, literally.
I will say that the progression on converting Splash Mountain to Tiana has moved pretty quickly.
That's true. They're back at like full speed on construction, which
with the
is
exception of Epcot.
Yeah.
Seems like they're still pretty slow there.
Yes, it does. Although
those walls have been up for how long now? I mean,
gosh, pre-COVID, right? When did they close?
I know they've been up at least 2 years.
Yeah, at least. Maybe it was during COVID. I don't remember. When did they close like the...
Well, because they originally planned on having some of this stuff done by...
For the 50th.
50th.
Yeah. Nothing. Anyway.
Because wasn't Guardians going to be done by the 50th? It made it during the year, but it was supposed to be done before it started, I thought, originally.
So switching gears on that, though, yes, it was.
In Toronto.
Right. But I thought I saw a story about how Journey of Water, like some cast members have started previewing it and stuff. Like Journey of Water seems like it's really close to being ready to open.
I think this is going to be a fun attraction, truthfully. I mean, I know people don't think about it. It's like, oh, it's not a ride.
Yeah.
Well, so it doesn't have to be a ride to be a good attraction.
Right.
I think more people should give Enchanted Tales with Belle if they had not a chance, because I thought that was entertaining. Now that it's back open.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed that. There were some cool effects and stuff. So you're right. I think they could do some cool effects that would be fun to see. Although this is more, my understanding is it's not going to be like Enchanted Tales with Belle in the sense that you'll have a group going in and then coming out. It's like anybody can just walk through there at any time, right? It's not going to be like...
I don't really know. I mean, like I said, there's not a whole lot known about this.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
So hopefully it won't be like you have to get in a line and wait and have people,
I don't think
like a group of like 50 go in and do.
Well, maybe to begin with, but it depends on how. Because everything...
Virtual queue.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, everything draws a crowd when it opens now because there's hype surrounding every single last attraction they do.
Yeah, and people have to be the first to show it on social media, right? Like,
and really, up until now, just about everything they build is an e-ticket. I mean, really.
What would you call this?
I don't think it's going to be...
no ticket.
What?
No ticket. Speaking of Indiana Jones.
You're not ready. Well, you're not gonna give your thoughts on it because nobody else has seen it.
I can't. Yeah, no, you haven't seen it, right? Are you gonna see it in theaters? I doubt it.
Right? It's questionable. Because I don't know who I'm gonna go see it with, and I don't really think it's a good idea to bring the kids. But I mean, not that they would care.
Yeah, kids would be bored. It's a long movie.
Yeah,
it's a very long movie.
So it's. I'm not gonna say it's possible. I almost considered renting or doing streaming for Guardians now that it's out for streaming. I almost thought about doing that.
How much?
I haven't done it yet.
Charge for?
I didn't even look. I mean, I was just like I said. I just knew that it was released. I didn't even look at. I didn't get that far. I just considered like I might pay to see this since I didn't go see it. Well, I could still go see it in theaters if I wanted to. But
I will say this too. Speaking of movies, I know we're jumping all over the place, but. This is the first summer since 2019 where I've considered seeing more than one movie. I think I might go see Mission Impossible this weekend.
It felt like an enjoyable experience again, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen 2 this year.
Right.
And saw Mario, and then we saw Elemental.
Right. So you can tell me about that because I probably won't get to see it.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say too much about it.
It's not doing well at
itself.
the box office.
It's actually started to improve. It didn't do what they wanted. So the numbers that it's getting like later, from what I've seen, is it's
better.
like it's gaining a reputation. I think that it's
Word
good.
of mouth.
Yeah, I think it's gaining a word of mouth reputation. It's one of the best films to me, best stories
Really?
that they've put out in a while. I really do. I think if people gave it a chance, they would get it.
So it's not like the one with anger and sadness and whatever. Why am I blanking on the name?
No, it's not like that at all. I mean, those are emotions,
Right.
And you're talking about Inside
Right.
Out.
Inside Out, yeah. Because they kind of felt similar based on previews you see, but
Well, only because you
way.
see things that aren't people,
right,
and so it makes you think of that.
and they're different.
Yeah. Then again, Pixar is known for taking inanimate objects and bringing them to life. That's like
Right.
what they're based on.
Right.
It's like,
Yes.
since
Their
when do
bread
they
and
have
butter.
people? I mean,
So you don't think they're dropping the ball like the Pixar ball? Anyway.
they kind of had been, and
Yeah. They really
but
have been.
this was in, it's in their style, but it's original, right? It's a new story. And I thought the way everything came together, it felt like what you used to think of when you would see a Pixar story, like the way it lays out, the type of story it has, surrounding the elements, obviously.
Yeah.
So you got one that's fire, water. We have earth, wind, and fire, and water.
Oh, nice. Do they make jokes about that?
No, not that I remember. Not that I remember seeing anyway. But I mean, it was just really good. It was really good. It was funny. It was
Okay.
emotional. It had a good emotional part to it at the end. I mean, it was like I said, without getting deep into it and just doing like a all-out review, because you may not see it till it gets released, like you say.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was worth the viewing.
Okay.
I mean, and everybody enjoyed it. And I had a coworker that went not long after. I told them about it, and they said, they said the same thing. I think people would be pleasantly surprised if they just gave the movie a chance. People have a tendency nowadays to listen too much to what they hear about something, and all of a sudden that's their opinion. Or they have to agree with this side or that side instead of just taking stuff for what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Sure.
yeah, it's just the what we live in now. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you saw Little Mermaid too, right? My son saw it.
That's right. Yeah, I did. That's
And
right.
you
I've seen
liked
3
it.
movies.
You said you
did.
liked it. Yeah.
I did. I liked what they did with the story.
Yeah. I actually am excited to see it. I just haven't had the chance to. But now I kind of want to see more movies again. I kind of like it had been, I don't know, maybe this is like across the board, like people, their thoughts about movies.
Yeah.
But
And they got good just in time to go on strike. So
I guess, but I mean, like 3 years, I didn't really want to go see a movie, even if I could.
yeah,
I didn't really want to, and there wasn't much worth seeing.
you're right. There was not very many stories that were appealing.
But I will say Top Gun Maverick was the one that kind of kicked it back off. Like, it's was
getting the
really
credit.
good.
Yeah. It's definitely getting the credit for it.
It made me go like, okay, movies can be good again.
Look, having opinions and what people are and everything, that's fine. We just got to a point where we got a little too preachy about it instead of just, like I said, letting it be. You know do you see what I'm saying? And you can still have things you believe in a movie or things you want to fight for in a movie without it necessarily coming across as too preachy. But we just got a little too preachy.
But I was reading an interesting story too about, I forgot, I think it may have been Steven Spielberg. It was an article I was reading that said, like, back in 2008 or 9 or something, Spielberg was predicting that these big budget movies were eventually going to bust the market, and it was not sustainable. And then, and I think, I don't know if it was him or the writer of the article that hearkened it back to the days of the epics in the 50s and 60s that, like these big epic films that had big budgets to try and compete with TV. And then that kind of led the way, kind of bankrupted some of them. And it led the way to what we, the real, I guess, renaissance, if you want to call it that, of the 70s and 80s, where we had these lower budget but really good movies. Star Wars is a great example of that. That and Indiana Jones and all the stuff that we know and love growing up. That were fairly low budget, but and I think what the article is saying was hopefully we'll get back to that where we don't have a $295 million budget for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which looks like it's barely going to make that money back if it does. I mean, it looks like it will make that money back, but it's not going to make a huge profit here,
Right.
So
and see, the thing is with Indiana Jones, you didn't really have to do some of the things they chose to do. Even in Crystal Skull, you didn't have to use CGI to the degree that they did, that they chose to do.
No.
And in a lot of ways, the effects that they did in the original films just
hold up better. I mean, they almost hold up better. I mean, some are not great, but they hold up pretty well overall. I still enjoy watching them. But...
there was a film I remember seeing that I thought I can't even remember which one it was now. I know I've talked about it before. But in other words, the way it all laid out, like they used CGI only where it was necessary. They used physical effects. I remember talking about it, probably even on this podcast, but I can't remember the movie now. It's like, there's times where things are really well overdone, but then there's times whenever it's done just the right amount, right?
Yeah.
That they utilize it.
I feel like Christopher Nolan does a lot of practical effects. Which, speaking of, I do want to see Oppenheimer. Hopefully he didn't create actual atomic bombs for shooting the movie, but...
Right. Now that I think about it, I think with the new like the sequel trilogies, wasn't it Force Awakens that they tried to utilize less CGI as little as possible? Well, of course, with Star Wars, you have to do a certain degree, but
right.
I think they used more physical sets than they did in, say, the prequel era.
Oh, right. Yeah, the prequel era was nothing but a giant room of blue screen. And they just put everything in later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was basically it. Although, anyway, Phantom Menace. Anyway, we're going off the rails again.
Yeah, we're going down more the movie path right now. But, it's there's sometimes there's lulls and then they make comebacks. And I feel like there's a little bit of a comeback here. I'm not saying everything's totally back, but it's a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get to an era where it's not so much these huge budget movies that, the popcorn flicks. Hopefully there's more story-shaped films that kind of like what we grew up with too. I mean, maybe we're just old get off my lawn types, but at this point, but I mean,
I don't even care.
I think, there hasn't been a lot of good movies probably in the last 5 or 10 years that I can really go back to and say, this is like going to hold up and I want to watch this over and over again kind of thing. Whereas when I was younger, probably not 80s and 90s in particular. Yeah. It was like
for a while there, it seemed
golden era.
The company that made most things people wanted to watch was Netflix. And there was not movies. Yeah. They were mostly series.
Right.
A couple of them were Netflix originals, movies. But.
Right. And we will be right back.
Teaching her how to drive. But Dad, why not use Greenlight to help her save for her own car? Mowing lawns and getting paid. She'll go from washing your car to flexing with her own. How? With Greenlight, the money app for families. Together, you can navigate the world of earning, saving, and investing. Because when you teach her to be smart about money, she'll go far. Invest in your best investment. Sign up today at greenlight.com.
This episode is also sponsored by Zencastr. We use Zencastr for traveling with a mouse, and we really enjoy how easy and user-friendly it is. You can record up to 4K video and high-quality audio, and they have backups, so you never have to worry about losing any of your audio. Go to Zencastr.com and use the promo code TWTM and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr Pay plan. I want you to have the same easy experience we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story
with Zencastr. And now back to the show.
Oh, the new cruise ship. Did you see the construction update on the new cruise ship? That was one thing. The treasure.
How did I miss
the Disney
that?
treasure.
It's a big treasure.
Yeah. Spent it all in 1 week. Yeah.
Oh, it was a glorious week.
Yeah, it could be though. I mean, so yeah, Disney treasure. They just showed it in the shipyard being constructed. It looks like a lot of it is ready, mostly.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
it's supposed to debut next year, right?
had to come along faster than the time period that they originally gave. Because it would have already been out there. It was already been out there when this was originally planned.
Yes.
So,
right.
speaking of the cruise lines, not too long ago, we actually were mulling over the possibility of taking one in the future, but I don't think we're going to do that anytime soon by any means.
Cruise.
Yeah. I really wanted to get at least a little bit of time on the Wish at some point, but we'll see. It's
I'd
just
love to see it.
yeah. Really, the thing we're shooting for, and I don't know, this is very tentative right now for our plans, but what we're shooting for is a trip to Disneyland next summer. Not just Disneyland, but our goal is to kind of splurge and stay in the Disneyland hotel. As kind of a bucket list item for me, actually, is to
That'd
stay
be
in the
fun, yeah.
Disneyland hotel.
That'd be awesome.
Just because, I mean, that's another one of those things, just like walking into Disneyland for the first time, you're looking around, you're like, man, Walt here, and all this good stuff.
Yeah.
The Disneyland hotel, even though it's gone through plenty of renovations over the years, is still the original, right, hotel. So
It's a special place.
that would be a big deal, I think. So
yeah,
we're
that would
mulling
be
that
awesome.
part over. But, hopefully it works out. That's all I'll say.
Right. That's all you say about it.
Yeah.
Right now. Park news. Yeah, the Haunted Mansion is going to have a brief refurbishment, but reportedly not for Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah, because it's only going to be like 3 days or something.
Right.
So it's not very long.
Yeah. 3 days seems like a short amount of time to
Yeah.
have like this advanced animatronic installation, but
I know this is
Oh,
kind
well.
of jumping a little bit. Did you happen to see that a squirrel crashes Walt Disney World's Carousel of Progress? Did you see that one?
yes, I saw the video. The squirrel, running around in one of the scenes. I forgot which one.
I was like, was there a talking dog right behind?
Yeah.
Doug.
Right. Doug, yeah. I don't think there's a ton more. Food and Wine's about to start.
You mean Diet Epcot right now? For what, like 2 days?
I think it already started by the time you hear this.
Right. That's flower. We
Yeah.
shifted from Flower and Garden to Food and Wine, just like this.
Which I always love. I mean, Food and Wine is still my favorite. I know everyone's like trying to hate on the original, but I still love Food and Wine Festival. And I like that it's longer.
Who's trying to hate on the original? I actually hate that it's
Jason.
longer.
He's always like, I like Festival of the Arts better. I like farts better. And I'm like, okay, but Food and Wine is still the best.
I personally long for the day when Epcot was not so festival heavy. I mean, I get that it's a source of revenue. I don't know how well it's doing as far as attracting attendance. I guess they did when Food and Wine, but one of the things that made it unique was the fact that it wasn't going on all the friggin' time. I mean, right now you feel like you're constantly in just one long Food and Wine festival. You just have a different name on it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's basically like Black Friday became Thanksgiving Day, and it just
Well,
kept
they backed
moving
off
back
of
and
it.
moving back. Yeah, they started to. So I guess one of my point in bringing it up is there a breaking point where they're finally gonna kind of back off on this?
Well, that's just, to me, it's not special anymore. You know what I mean? It was different when it was special. Like, you would want to go to Epcot in the fall because it was just these 2 months or whatever, 3 months or,
Well, they do. Part of what they do is some of the outdoor kitchens don't open until like September, October. Like some of them debut later than the ones that first start out. Like some start in August, some are going to start in, I thought they started later, but Anyway, some of them are delayed start.
Yeah, but once upon a time, you could do, say, eating around the world without doing booths. You could actually go to the countries, like individual stands, and
you can
and,
still do that. It's just
you could.
There's also like 3 weeks out of the year that you can actually do that.
Right.
In between
I don't know.
festivals, the weeks in between festivals.
If there's evidence that it really helps their pockets that much, then I guess that's why they're doing it. But I don't know. Like I said, I liked it when it was more special and unique personally.
Yeah,
but that's
sure.
just me. I like it when it's more specialized.
But that being said, I still like the Food and Wine Festival. I think it's my favorite still.
Yes, I would agree. That one is more appeals to me more than the others.
Yeah,
but
I like it a lot. All right, I think. Unless you have any other stories that you wanted to just throw in.
I mean, for me, the news here lately has just kind of been take it as it comes. Like I see a couple of things. I've not really been paying grand attention to it.
Yeah,
and really not that much that's really discussion-wise, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Christmas party tickets went on sale, and the prices are astronomical. Did you see that?
I didn't see the prices. What were they?
So the cheapest ones are $150 or $149, I should say, and that's like mid-November, and that's annual pass holder rate. By the way, the regular rate, the cheapest is $159. So I'm like, I thought there was a day where you could get under $100 for a Christmas party, and that was like 3-4 years ago, like pre-COVID. I don't think they were this crazy expensive, but anyway.
Well, people are gonna pay it, so that's probably why they're part of the reason why they're doing it. So
right, and there's less of these than the Halloween party, obviously. So
right,
but basically, anytime in December, you're paying almost $200 a ticket. And the last 3 parties are $199 for adults, $189 for kids.
And it's a 5-hour
for a 5-hour event. Yeah, you
5-hour
can get in
event.
the park early. So you can get in the park at like 5 or maybe 4 or 5, whatever it is.
Because you get roughly a 5-hour event.
Yeah, 4 p.m. you can get in.
In which you wait in line, in which you still wait in line for things.
Yeah. And you still have to pay for food or drink or anything. You get like cookies and hot chocolate for free.
Do you know back in the day, that was the beauty of E-Ride versus because you got your bands or whatever, you paid something ridiculously low, like $15 or something added on to. You still had to have a regular park ticket, I think. You just couldn't do it individual, like special ticket thing. So you had to have a park ticket, and you just went in there. You had to be a resort guest. You had to get your band. But it was about exactly what a lot of people want to do with these. They want lower crowds so they can ride rides. That was their original intention. Right. That's what most people pay for these events for now, even at the astronomical prices they are, right?
Yeah.
And they're not getting it. That was my biggest gripe with the Disney After Dark that we had at Epcot. Like the main reason people are paying this is to ride rides, and they're riding to try to get low wait times at their most popular rides, and they weren't getting it.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
That's the main objective.
Yeah. And I think the dessert parties too are like $120 or something like that for adults, or 110 or something crazy. I'm just like, for a dessert party for the Halloween party or something.
There must be somebody buying it.
Yeah. I mean, like, golly.
I think Donald Gennaro is taking over.
Yeah. Coupon day. Maybe they'll have a coupon day. Anyway, so we have a few minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about, we've all been recently, so I did want to bring up, for those who might be traveling to Disney in the near future, I wanted to give some kind of our picks for certain things, like obviously what are our favorite, rides and things. But I asked ChatGPT actually to give me some categories that we could kind of give our picks for, or give some suggestions for folks who might be planning a trip either in the near future or later this year. And the first thing is a hidden gem. What would you consider a hidden gem based on your recent travels that maybe is a little bit lesser known or less talked about thing, whether it's a restaurant, ride, experience? I don't know. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, based on our most recent trip, I just say this because it's not as popular an option, and I think I mentioned it in my trip report, but I think, to me, somewhat of a hidden gem is the breakfast at Garden Grill, the character breakfast or the character meal at Garden Grill. It's not as popular because it doesn't have the name, Chef Mickey's in it, or,
Right.
It doesn't have these names in it, but the characters you get, like we said before,
Chip
or
and Dale,
Mickey, Pluto, Chip and Dale. I mean,
Yeah, you can't beat Chip and Dale.
It's a great experience. It's good food. You get
It's a good restaurant too.
Yeah, you get to sit in a slowly turning restaurant that goes through Living with the Land, one of the best
Right.
attractions at Epcot,
Yeah, you can't beat
Matter
that.
of opinion, of course, to some. But
I agree.
I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but I've learned to appreciate Living with the Land a lot more than I used to.
Totally. I love that.
But yeah. So that you could call that a hidden gem in a way, right?
Well, we could, yeah. So there's two for one.
In the
So
same building.
When you're done, just go downstairs and get on Living with the Land.
I know,
With your
Adam, you
meal.
think Figment's hidden gem, right?
No.
Is that hidden enough?
Figment's okay, but whatever.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, so your turn.
Yeah. I was going to say Enzo's Hideaway. That was one that we actually said the same thing about on our last episode. But I think it is a hidden gem. I think it's hidden on purpose because you have to go underneath the stairs to get to it. At Disney Springs, it's not obvious where it is all the time. I mean, it's pretty obvious. You can find it, but we had a great experience there. Food is surprisingly good, and drinks are good. Atmosphere is cool. I love the atmosphere there too. So I'd say that's a good hidden gem. Another one, I know I didn't rave about it on the last episode, but Geyser Point is worth the trip out to Wilderness Lodge. Not as much for the drinks for me. I didn't find the drinks like the best at the lounges I prefer, but the atmosphere and the view of Bay Lake and seeing the Contemporary and Discovery Island, and you're kind of outdoors. It's got a very outdoors feel. That one, I think it's worth the trip because it's such a cool venue. And the food was good too. Drinks, maybe go off the menu and see if they've got something, because unless any of our loyal patrons of that restaurant could recommend. I tried 3 of the signature drinks and they were fine, but if there's one that any of you guys recommend, let me know, because I would love to try it again. Anyway, so that would be another hidden gem, I think, for me, that I discovered recently.
Yeah. I was trying to think as far as like a hidden gem. I don't think, there's not really a whole lot that's hidden anymore with all these, like reviews and blogs and all this other good stuff. Right.
Well, I think there's things that are lesser known. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah. Or things that are underappreciated. That's really or it.
Yeah. So merchandise. This is one that's like, is there any merchandise you recommend? I've not been impressed with the merch.
I can't think of one single merchandise item that I would buy personally.
I'll just say, as far as merch goes, I really like the new Indiana Jones line of merch that they put out. It's not easy to find. There's like one shop at Hollywood Studios that sometimes has it.
Well, you've become a bit of a collector of Indiana Jones anyway.
Yes. And I've decided he's probably my favorite movie character growing up, especially, but I've thought about that. I'm like, yeah, Indiana Jones was probably number 1 for me. Of all, like,
interesting,
even superheroes and all this stuff, I probably preferred Indy. He's more relatable. Anyway.
Yeah.
But like the fertility idol, the Sankara stone, the Holy Grail, the headpiece of the Staff of Ra, those are all really cool props.
Like
essentially, you can get.
I was gonna say you're collecting all the movie props of the things he collected, or at least went after.
Which I'm waiting for the Dial of Destiny. Like, are they gonna have that prop where you can buy it? Yeah, I don't know if they have it yet. But anyway, that's the only thing That's the only thing I really bought recently that I was happy with.
So you said you do have the fertility idol?
I didn't buy it yet.
Oh,
I wanted
okay, you
to.
have it.
I should have bought it when I had the 30% discount, but
Well, you're gonna have to go to Marrakesh to buy it. So
I have these pieces though. These are good pieces. Oh, but yeah, no, I don't have that. But anyway, I do want it though because I just want to like have a bag of sand and do this all day. That's all I want to do. Anyway, character experiences. Is there anything that stands out?
experiences. I think I kind of wrapped it up in my other one. That character experience is really good.
Yeah. Okay. So go to Garden Grill.
Hey, go to Garden Grill for all of that.
Yes. So that, yeah, all inclusive. I would say the meet Ariel. I hope that meet and greet stays somewhere or moves somewhere even after a while because that was actually a really good experience.
I haven't seen one in a while, but I've always liked the more, I guess we should say, unique character meet and greets whenever they're available.
Yeah.
Those
actually, yeah, I wanted to do the Chippendale Rescue Ranger one, which is still there at Hollywood Studios. The line, like, I'm not one for waiting in lines for characters, but
not anymore.
That one, dang it. That one I kind of wanted just because nostalgia, but
Do you know that's one of the beauties of the
another one.
cruise ships is the short character wait,
Yes.
short waits for characters.
Aulani was good for that too. That was one of my favorite things about Aulani. And
I mean, they still have lines, but there's a limited number of people. So
right. I mean, it's like, yeah, and you can show up, and it's like, oh, they just showed up, and you can meet them.
It's not like whenever you stop the cruise ship that there's more people getting on. It's the same number of people from start to finish. So
Right. Yeah. The next category was park tips. Discuss your favorite time-saving hacks, lesser-known shortcuts, or best time to visit particular rides.
best time to visit is a matter of opinion these days.
Right. Because there's options like you could obviously rope drop and try to do things in the first hour. If you have early entry with a Disney resort, that's a great.
Well, that would be a good tip for any time of the year.
Obviously, yeah. But also, if you're buying Genie Plus, going in late and stacking lightning lanes is also a great strategy.
If you're willing to spend the money.
Yeah,
spend the money. Just about have to do if you want
to. And yeah, I think another tip is cough up the money for Tron. And you got to do it. I would rather pay the lightning lane than wait in the virtual queue line.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Again, I think it depends on when you hit it. If you're looking and you want to time, if you time it closer to the end of your window, I think you stand a chance of the wait being shorter. That's just
possibly, yeah. I mean, that was
there's no guarantees. I just think that it's more likely.
We haven't fully tested that out. Obviously, you had that experience where it was much better than what we had, and we didn't wait till the tail end of our window. So
I think showing up with about 10 minutes to spare is probably the best.
So try that and we'll see. Also, just buy the lightning lane.
Yeah.
But anyway,
if you're going to do that.
Yeah. But, Tron's worth it. Events. Let's see. Highlight your favorite seasonal events, parades, or fireworks. I mean, as far as events, I love, Halloween party, but I'm not going to pay right now for that. I don't see it as worth the extra unless, again, as an annual pass holder, I don't want to pay more just to get into something. I'm already paying a lot just to do that. So, but if you're a one-time, if you're this is your one-time trip for the year or for the next couple of years, I think it's worth making one of your park days a party ticket still. Mm-hmm. I think it's still a good value for that because you can get in at 4 and I think it's still a good value for that. But
there was a time when I would have said I preferred the Halloween party. I actually think I prefer the Christmas party of the two, except for the price it was just released. But
right. Halloween party can be a lot cheaper. I think it's still much
for
more
now. Well, there's
if you-
more of them.
Right, there's way more of them. If you go into August, for example,
Yeah.
it's or early September, it's much better.
Again, it's one of those things that I can't really say when I'll actually attend one of these again, just because it's hard to justify the cost when you've already done it for a different price that's way less than this.
Right.
That's all I can say.
I'm not gonna pay like $600 or $800 for a 5-hour event,
Just someone in my age range, like, knows what it was like a decade ago and sees how
That's true.
how little it's actually changed overall, except for the price.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's hard to swallow.
In some cases, it's less of what you were getting 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
For way more, for double the price. Anyway.
Yeah.
But parades or fireworks, I mean, it's fun it's obviously way past July 4th, obviously, but when they do fireworks like that, it's actually, I think it's fun to see a special fireworks show like that. New Year's Eve is also another good one, and the Christmas fireworks are good too. So, but again, you can't beat Happily Ever After. So,
yeah.
Parades, I mean, Festival of Fantasy is fine, but I've seen it so many times.
I don't really have a parade that I like at the moment.
Yeah. I wish they would bring back a nighttime parade at Disney World, but
Right.
anyway.
Nighttime parades were always more fun.
Yeah, they're just better. But
I
anyway.
can't explain it. You said something earlier about, I think we just kind of glazed over it, though. Good time of year to go. And when I said how that kind of depends on what it is you want, right? Like, if you want certain events, obviously you have to go when those were happening.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to try and get, say, you like the idea of the Christmas time and the Christmas stuff, but you want it to be slightly less crowded, your best bet there is going to be first week of December still. But as far as if your main goal is to go when it's not crowded, you're just about not going to find it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a crapshoot now.
Well, speaking of that, everyone keeps saying how uncrowded it is right now, but I mean, it's not spring break level when I was there recently, but it's still busy. Like, there's still a lot of people there. It's not like it's like it was right after 9/11 or right during, right when they reopened from COVID. Like, it's nothing like that. It's still crowded. It's still busy. It's like, I don't know why they keep making it sound like it's like nobody's there.
Well, no,
true.
it's still, it's when it comes to the summer, it actually is quite slow. As a matter of fact, it was reported that the 4th of July experienced the lowest wait times of the year. Probably because they were prepared for the worst. And
I think most people are going abroad this year anyway, because you can for the first time.
Yeah, it could be.
But my point though is it's still busy. Like, it's not that it's like you're not going to wait for anything. Don't buy Genie Plus. Like, you still need Genie Plus for most everything if you don't want to wait in line.
I think everybody's trying to find that magic time that they used to, people want to go when it's not crowded. And so when everybody's trying to find that, then they're going to go from the times that people say or what they discover, right? They're going to try that. And then, of course, it's going to make that time busier than it would have been.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say it's hard to pinpoint a truly unbusy time. Right.
Because when it's not busy, they're going to throw out discounts, which that's one thing Iger actually does. Is
believe it or not,
throws out discounts.
Leading into Thanksgiving is actually not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually the week before is not terrible.
Yeah, leading into Thanksgiving is not that bad.
And right after is usually great too.
They're just, like I said, they're just so sporadic now. Like, they're just kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
Like, you really got to be. You're not going to be able to plan very far in advance the perfect storm of when it's slow.
Yeah, early November was my favorite time because you could usually catch a Christmas party. Of course, this is back when you wouldn't pay $150 to go per person, but
catch the tail end of Food and Wine. Yeah.
Right. Food and Wine Festival. That was like the sweet spot, like that mid-November time frame. But anyway. All right, let's Entertainment. Is there any kind of entertainment there? That's kind of the same thing.
Well, I mean, it's all entertainment, isn't it? So I guess
Live
I mean,
shows, street performances. They barely have street performances now. Dapper Dan's, if you can catch them, is good.
Yeah. One of the best ones I always used to like to try and find was when they were, certain people were out and of the street performers at Hollywood Studios, which they don't do anymore.
Don't do them anymore. They were great.
So
I'd say Voices of Liberty is worth it if you can catch them. But
yeah,
they're not really street performers. You have to go in to watch them. But anyway.
Yeah. Do you know something that I actually saw on the Parkeology's tweets here not too long ago that I thought was kind of neat that I had almost forgotten about? It's been so long. Do you remember those moving statues they used to have in France?
Yeah,
people?
I do.
That would actually be cool if they could find a way to bring that back.
You used to have like video of that and stuff too, where they would. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we had a little bit of video of it.
I do remember that. That was
like,
cool.
when did they fade away? Like, when did they stop being a thing? I don't even remember.
I know if you look that up, it would probably be like 2016 or something. You're like, really? They did it that long? You're like, didn't know, crazy. Yeah. I do remember that though. That was fun.
Yeah.
I think in Italy they still have the street performer. I've seen him. I feel like I've seen him recently. The guy with the whistle and the.
I always thought that the Chinese acrobats were fun to watch. That they would have.
Oh yeah, those were always good. I don't know if they still. I know. So, for the Festival of the Holidays, they have the special speakers that come out like at the different countries that share their holiday traditions. Always like the one in France, the guy who basically looks like Santa Claus, but gosh, what's his name? Anyway, he's cool. There's a few others that are good ones. That's another thing.
When we brought this up, the age-old debate of Canada or Mexico, right?
Yes.
Like, where do you
which
start?
Side? Yeah, which side?
Yeah, which side do you start? I saw one of those here recently, and I chimed in. I was like, France because after you get off at the International Gateway, after you get off the Skyliner.
Nice.
So there's a new option.
Yeah, there is a new option. Well, France or UK, which way you go? So if you're going off the Skyliner and you just are right there, what would your first, if you're hungry, what would your first gut instinct be? Go left or right? UK or France?
If I'm hungry?
Yeah, if you're hungry.
Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind, because I've gotten it a few times, is just go straight to the fish and chips because it's right there. I was
going to say the same thing.
Yorkshire
Fish shop, baby.
Because it's not too far from it.
I would mobile order it as I'm walking off the Skyliner, and I would go pick it up.
Yeah.
Go get my fish and chips and a Guinness or something. It's exactly what I would do.
Well, because if I'm going toward France, that's mostly, the quick service stuff is mostly sweet, right?
Right.
So,
resorts. What do we want to talk about resort-wise? Or places to stay?
Places to stay? Gosh, I mean, I've pretty much done most of the different variations you can think of.
Right.
You know what I mean? As far as like price-wise or off-property or deluxe accommodations. I mean, we've done several of them.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of depending on what's your budget and what is it that you want. If you're wanting to get the most out of your money, you're probably not going to stay deluxe, truthfully, unless you're going to do like, well, you've just recently given Saratoga, right, a good review as far as a good option, because that's definitely usually cheaper as far as deluxe goes.
Yeah, and right now, if you're going in the summer, you can probably get a great discount for Saratoga or Wilderness Lodge or Animal Kingdom Lodge. Those are probably
I was just about to say, I was like, my personal preference for getting the best combination of deluxe accommodations and price is probably going to be Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah,
overall.
That's usually the cheapest one, I think, if you can get the cheapest room.
There's that, and then there's the unique theming, and everybody talks about needing a Savannah View room. No, you don't. Okay, so you can wake up and see them for that however long are you staying in your room.
Right.
Or you could just get out of your room and get some of the same views all over the resort.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to.
So, I mean, it's not as important or, as a lot of people make it out to be if you're going to stay there. Oh, you got to have a Savannah room stay there. No, not really. I enjoyed that pool room view, I guess, way more than I probably would have a Savannah view, to be honest.
And I would still say best bang for your buck is Coronado Springs. It's going to be widely available most of the time because it's huge. And now that you have, my biggest complaint back in the day was you couldn't get to the main building very easily. It was a forever walk. But now that you've got Three Bridges, you've got
It's not as
Connection, and you've got Grandestino now, and
It's still spread out.
It's still huge, of course, but I mean,
Yeah.
you staying in any of the outer buildings, you can walk pretty easily to Three Bridges, best bathroom on property right now. Three Bridges. But also the food at Three Bridges is incredible.
Yeah.
So it's a great little spot. And of course, you got the tower, you've got Dahlia Lounge. The rooms are great for the outer building and the tower. So that's my first go-to whenever I'm thinking about booking anything. I'm going to look there first.
Okay.
I mean, because prices are comparable from that to, honestly, Pop Century, at least for an outer building. I would take Coronado over Pop almost any day, unless I really just wanted to be Skyliner. But then I would have to pay for Preferred at Pop so that I don't have to walk a mile to get to the Skyliner station. I'd want to be in 60s for...
Well, the thing
Skyliner.
is, I think Pop is more convenient, even non-preferred, to Skyliner than any of the, like, say, if you're at Art of Animation, if you're not Nemo, you're not convenient to Skyliner. Versus Pop, actually, the 70s building has some buildings that are not too bad for getting to that bridge, as well as the 50s.
They also have some that are not close.
Yeah.
So, depends on where you get put in those sections.
Obviously, the worst part would be 80s and 90s.
I know. If you get a standard room, you're going to be in, 90s, and you're, a mile from everything. I've been in 90s so many times, golly.
Yeah.
It's worth the extra $30 a night to get Preferred.
Preferred, yeah, like I say, Preferred is a good option there, especially if you're gonna go value, you might as well go Preferred.
Preferred, you're paying $250 to whatever, $70 a night. Might as well just go to Coronado and drive to the parks because it's better anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, or an Uber. Uber is cheap. Anyway. Yeah.
Uber or a regular Lyft, not a minivan.
Yeah. So anyway.
But staying off property has its advantages, price-wise for sure.
Yeah, you'll save a lot of money
if you're not too far.
Sure.
The options that I have taken, only one of them that I've taken would I not recommend. Actually, I think it's owned by a totally different company now anyway. But doing a vacation home or an Airbnb, if you get the right one, is definitely a way less expensive option that you get your own pool in a lot of those cases for. So if you like that. Mystic Dunes. I don't know if I've mentioned this here before.
You've talked about it. Mm-hmm.
They're now owned by Hilton. So if you're a member of Hilton, you can usually get that through their
points. Could use points or earn points.
But those places, you get spacious for very little. You get a lot of good space for very little. And it's only golf resort if you like golf. So, and it's not very far from Disney. Right. So, I mean, it's a good option. So.
Yeah. And you know, the Disney Springs hotels, not bad either. They're decent options.
Right.
Bonnet Creek, well, what is it? Signia.
Yeah.
By Hilton, Bonnet Creek is probably the best. But again, you're probably paying moderate to deluxe prices most of the time for that one. So anyway, it just depends on what you want, where you want to be. Shopping. What about shopping? Are there any, you don't shop?
Care. Not really, not anymore. I mean,
well, just in terms of I still like to look at stuff. I still like to go into shops and stuff. If you want unique stuff, obviously Mitsukoshi, Epcot's a good place for just random stuff. But I like what they did with Creations at Epcot too.
Yeah.
Emporium to me is always too hard to get around. It's so busy. I don't love Emporium anymore. The way they laid out Creations is much more spread out and it's easier to get around. So
a lot of that same stuff you can find at well, some of the more basic or more generalized ones you can still find at World of Disney, but World of Disney is now just as much a madhouse as any of those other ones.
Oh gosh, yeah. Last time I went in there, Springs. If you go to Springs on a weekend, especially, golly,
Yeah.
I would not go into the World of Disney store. It was so much chaos.
I think your best bet is to probably hit it when it first opens.
Yeah, rope drop it if you're gonna do it. Yeah,
Rope drop World of
rope
Disney.
drop World of Disney. Yeah. I was gonna say too, though, I like shopping at Galaxy's Edge, even though I don't really buy anything. I just love walking
You
around
save
that
money.
market. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that market area. It's usually not as crowded anymore. At least not in my recent experience. Not a lot of people go in there anymore. So I like looking at the Star Wars stuff, just seeing the details.
Right. I'm not really much of a shopper.
I just like browsing. Like I don't buy a lot of merch, but I like looking. And I'll give a shout out to that one shop at Hollywood Studios. I have to look it up. That actually has Indiana Jones merch, and they have Star Wars and Marvel stuff too. Hollywood Studios is probably my favorite park for shopping because going down Sunset Boulevard, and I actually like the stores there a lot.
Hollywood Studios is not my favorite park for anything.
But
At the moment.
I like it a lot. I'd say my least favorite for shopping is Magic Kingdom.
I mean, I don't dislike Hollywood Studios, but it's the fact that it's become a logistical nightmare is one of my issues with it.
Yeah, I still like it. Keystone Clothiers is my favorite. Shop it. Because that's where you can get the indie stuff. Anyway, moving on. Special experiences? Oh, well, we don't.
What's the difference between that and the special events?
Yeah,
What
not much.
experiences?
I mean, it's like if you did a VIP tour, I guess, or a behind the scenes tour or something like that. Maybe those things. But
Show me the money. I mean,
behind the scenes is
That's
not
how you
that
get
bad.
no, but I'm just saying it's just if you want additional cost stuff is basically what that is.
The Wilderness Trail at Animal Kingdom. That's one that I want to do. The one that you go kind of through the safari backstage. I do want to do that one of these days. And Disney Springs was the last category. Is there anything? I already talked about Enzo's. What you said, Gideon's is worth it, right? Gideon's.
Yeah, I mean,
It's worth
that's, I would obviously based on the experience I had, I would look at the line and gauge whether or not you're
Worth the wait.
yeah, like you used to could do with attractions. You used to could look at the line to tell whether or not the wait time was accurate.
Right.
Not
I would-
really so much nowadays. You can do it kind of sometimes, but not so much nowadays.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a unique bar or hangar bars, I go for a
Mhm.
unique. We just said the Indiana Jones theme.
Yeah. And I love good Indiana Jones stuff. So yeah, I want to get back to Jock Lindsay's. They had some special drinks too for Dial of Destiny, but
I mean, they have like an exclusive like Lego store over there, as well as a total. I've never been in
Usually
it, but
busy.
I've seen it. The Star Wars store. I mean, they have one of those.
yeah, we walked in
As
that
well.
Star Wars store last time because it's near the M&M store. It was fine. I still prefer the Hollywood Studios stuff there, but
If you like dipping sauces and trying different ones, Chicken Guy.
Chicken Guy, sure. Right. Uniqlo, my wife loves that store. It's right across from Polite Pig, which you like too. It's a good barbecue
Yeah,
place.
Polite Pig. Yes, that was a good
Polite
option.
Pig's good.
Just know that you could wait, even though we had a really good experience with the wait. You could have a wait at
Yeah.
Polite Pig.
You could always rope drop that too
I
when they open.
was gonna say any of the places that get busy, you just have to rope drop it.
Yeah. What
Food
else?
wise, you have to rope drop food just like you'd have to rope drop attractions.
Indeed.
That's the era we live in.
Yeah.
I was just thinking right quick, can you think of just one item that you would say is now considered to be overplayed or overhyped as far as Disney goes?
The first thing that came to my mind was the Dole Whip. I still like Dole Whips.
Well, actually, the Dole Whip was the first thing that came to my mind. I like them, but it is overhyped.
I mean, sure, but I like, if you get the Dole Whip swirl, it's really good.
Yeah, they still don't have the combination that I like the best. So
Yes. What was it, the orange and what did you like
it
the
was
best, or
basically the pineapple float, but you opted for the orange Dole Whip, not the
Oh,
pineapple
the orange,
Dole Whip.
right.
Like the combination of the mixture of the
Yeah, you would have to go
flavors
to
is good.
2 different places now and just order, can I get pineapple juice? And
They
then
had
go
to make your own almost.
right, get to it. You could do it, but it would cost you like $15. What was I going to say? I think the spring rolls are getting out of hand.
Yeah.
I think they're a little overhyped as well because I think they came out with a new flavor. And I forgot what it was, and I was just like, that does not sound very good.
Right.
And they're like $9 for 2 of them. So I feel like the spring rolls are becoming quite overhyped and way overpriced. So, oh well.
I don't know. My personal opinion, I think sometimes some things get to be like they seemed really good at the time because of what shape you're in. So say, for instance, like if you're really hot and you got something like the LeFou's brew, it was probably tasted way better than if you had been like, I don't know, if you just made it at home and you're like, yeah, this is still good, but I'm not raving about it like I was when it was there.
I thought about that too. Our friends were actually there and they were like, oh, Gaston's Tavern. That must be awesome. I'm like, no, it's not. It's Magic Kingdom. It's not what you think it's going to be.
It's like when they thought tavern, I was like, oh, that
Yes.
should be good.
Yeah, they were like,
can we get in there?
Gaston's Tavern.
I was like, there's no alcohol. Oh.
You can get frozen
But-
apple juice? Not
Oh,
quite.
yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the LeFou's brew personally, but I'm starting to think that it had
It's
more
so
to do with
sweet.
the fact that it's really cold and I was really hot.
I mean,
I
that's
think it
the
had
only,
more to do with it.
right, that's the only good thing about it. Or you get the cinnamon roll there in the morning.
It's just like I was a little bit underwhelmed by the frozen Keurig.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's fine. I'm not, Jason loves it. It's good.
I know.
It's fine.
Again,
I'm in the middle on it.
I'm not knocking it. It's in general, it's a matter of taste. I think
It's not a go-to for me.
personal. It's a personal preference when it comes to that one.
It's not
So-
a go-to for me. Anyway, we should wrap that up. Where can we be found?
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That is all at TWTM Podcast. You can find the Spreadshirt store. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcast. We have a YouTube channel in which the latest videos you can check out are actually one I posted of a recent ride on Pirates of the Caribbean, which, again, it wasn't what I originally as good as I wanted, but it's out there. And then my ride on Tron as well is out there. So where can you find that, Adam?
On our website, travelingwiththemouse.com. You can find links to that and more. You can also email us podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And if you want assistance in planning your next trip, you can use our travel agent friend. Her info is also on our website. And for John, my name is Adam. This is Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip.
Please. We need the money.
For more tips, follow Traveling with the Mouse.
Yes, more tips. Do we give any tips?